Thousands of years ago, Kharadia was nothing but forest. Vast rolling lands of trees and vegetation. An unruly landscape unclaimed by no one. Tribes fought for territory, riches and glory, yet it was always a stalemate in the end. The land forever longing for a power to rule over them all. One tribe in particular though, were the Kharadia. There was nothing all that peculiar about this faction. They fought like other tribes. They lived mostly like other tribes. Up in the hills, they weren't really much of a power. Yet one thing made them stand out. The lack of a sole leader. Calling yourself a king was shunned by everyone in the tribe after the tyrants that came before. Kings that were cruel, nasty, and they want to keep that past behind them. So naturally, the Kharadia was ruled by a senate or group of elders who would make the decisions and control the actions of the tribe. The Kharadia grew, taking over neighbouring tribes and factions and bringing them to their own, subsequently then needing to expand. And so they did, moving from place to place, conquering, claiming and growing their forces. At this point, little could be called an empire, yet the Kharadia were making huge strides in that direction. The first true professional army in Kharadia showed their prowess at any chance they got. The leader of their troops, or so-called emperor at the time, took the army wherever they desired, with discussion once again from the Senate. Irenicus was a leader of huge proportions. He rose armies, conquered land, and was beloved by the soldiers and people alike, and paved his way to glory on any occasion that arose. Almost the perfect emperor. Almost. To much of the confusion of the Senate, he would not or could not choose an heir. Someone to take his mantle when his time came to move to the next life. Someone to carry on his legacy. There was no one in the Senate that would take his place, nor the army who he saw fit to become emperor, and especially not his daughter. Unfortunately, he had not been blessed by a son, and although an empress wasn't unheard of in the Kharadia, his daughter, Ira, wasn't exactly the model leader. Time passed. More tribes were subjugated and towns captured. Irenicus grew his power and his name, and it seemed the only thing that could catch up with him was age. After a decisive defensive victory at the borders of his territory, whilst being a glorious battle, little did Irenicus know it would be his last. Settling down after the campaign, he stumbled into his quarters, not feeling quite right, and was found later that night dead in a pool of his own blood. With the emperor gone, within no time members of the Senate, army, and his own family started to pounce on the position like rats to the bone. A scramble for power and hold claim to leadership. Three factions emerged. Lukon, a stiff-necked aristocrat who favoured the Senate over anything. Garios, a veteran of the wars in Britannia, loved by the army and famed for battle. And Regaia, the wife of the late Irenicus, foreign mother to their daughter and blood heir to the throne. All three being backed by the Senate, army and people alike, yet all three feeling they do with themselves have the rightful claim for power. It seemed like civil war was inevitable. And this is where your story begins in Kharadia, a lost kingdom clinging onto the power of the past. Three factions vying for control to be the central power in the land. The army, the Senate, and the people split and fighting for position of emperor. The empire taking after the historical faction, the Byzantians, the rebuilding of what was Roman and Greek cultures together, and of course meaning all three factions of the empire having similar troops and way of war. With heavy cataphract with lances, sabres and maces, the Empire were great at smashing through and disrupting enemy lines. The crush of their heavy horse, stopping for no one on the quest for victory, being a menace to not only archers, but cavalry and heavy infantry alike. Possibly the best all-round faction, the Empire also excel in heavy archers and infantry. Their Palatine Guard, whilst not having the range of many other archers of the different factions, make up for it in incredible accuracy and armour, not to mention their training, giving them the nerves of steel and being able to stand up against the strongest of enemies. Not just in ranged combat, but when the going gets tough, they aren't afraid to get dirty in hand to hand. The Empire's legionaries providing a fearsome fighting force on the ground. Large shield walls, 5, 6 ranks deep to defend against any oncoming missiles and troops. Also to provide a mobile wall of death that can roll through pretty much anyone that opposes them. Being such a powerful all-round faction though, it may seem the Empire has few weaknesses, yet lighter troops can run rings around them if they're not careful. Well-placed longbowmen can keep them at bay, with horse archers harassing the legionary shield wall. Light cavalry providing hit-and-run tactics and wear down the slow lumbering enemy troops, so coordination is key. But the Empire is not so straightforward when it comes to the army. Minor factions spreading throughout, moving influence from neighbouring factions to the land of the Caradoi. Variations of barbarian weaponry, more guerrilla tactics, and even coastal forces taking influence from Nordic factions, preferring axes over swords and round shields rather than the kite. Still, all fight for the Empire. A land that is rich in history, an ongoing battle for power and a struggle to break out from a chain of civil wars. The Empire have a strong foothold in Caradia. But for how long? Well, that is for you to decide. I really hope you enjoyed this different style of video. This was the history and lore behind the Empire. What faction do you want me to look at next? Hopefully I'll try and get all the main ones done before the release of Bannerlord in a week's time. But make sure you go and join the giveaway, click the link in the description or the pinned comment if you want a chance for a copy of the game on release. All winners will be announced on Twitter and my community page on this channel on the 30th of March this week. Make sure you subscribe for more content like this, but until then, I will see you in the next one.